Okay, I really dreaded sitting down and filming this video because there were a number of things that I originally planned to do before I would film this. Like, for example, I was planning to write out a script so I would know exactly what to say, but then I just ultimately decided that I'm just gonna sit down and just kind of wing it and tell you guys everything that's sort of been happening in my life recently. Here's the biggest piece of news. I am taking a year off. It feels almost crazy that I'm saying this to you guys, because if you had asked me about any of this a year ago or even just a couple of months ago, honestly, I would have been like, you're out of your mind. There's no way I would ever take a year off. But here I am sitting and telling you guys that a lot of things in my life have changed and my whole perspective and mindset has really shifted these past couple of months. So I'm here to just kind of sit down and tell you guys everything from hopefully the beginning to end, if you're willing to sit down and just kind of go through this with me. If you don't know already, I go to the University of Waterloo as a GBDA student. During the beginning of summer, when I got back home, there was a lot of things that I was really conflicted with, and I never really realized how much of an effect Waterloo really had on my mental health and just overall well-being until I came back home. And the craziest thing is, if I never came back, I never would have realized how bad it was for me, because the moment I came back, the first 2 or 3 weeks of summer vacation was really hard for me, because every single night I would just struggle with the idea of like going back, even though summer vacation basically just started and I wasn't going back until like a couple months later. Every single night I would go to bed and I would stay up because there'd be so many anxious and panicking thoughts that I had. And it got to the point where I just would feel so uncomfortable, so uneasy whenever just like the thought of school came back into my head. And the reason why that is because I had such a terrible experience during my second year. And if you watched one of my earlier videos where I sort of talked about that, then you'll sort of have like a better understanding of where I'm coming from. But basically I was dealing with a lot of pressure in terms of my self-esteem and just how I felt overall in the program, and just where I saw myself going in the future, because I felt like what I was doing didn't really align with a lot of the goals that I wanted in the future. And the craziest thing was that I didn't even know where I wanted to go, and so I was just kind of like blindly doing a bunch of things in my program, and I lacked a lot of passion and like creativity for everything that I was doing. I wasn't doing particularly well. Like, yes, I was passing my courses, but did I care about what I was doing? No, I wasn't. And I would always feel so unmotivated and so uninspired. And whenever I would see other people in my program just doing what they loved and sort of just having kind of like a pathway in a sense, not even necessarily a pathway, but just knowing what they want and that they're sort of working towards something, even if they don't exactly know what they're working towards, they were still sort of paving a way for themselves. And I realized that I was just sort of going nowhere. Like, yes, I was pursuing this degree in a sense, but psychologically and emotionally, I felt like I wasn't really going anywhere, and it was becoming extremely difficult for me, and I never really realized how toxic Waterloo had become for me in terms of my own personal growth. When I came back here, I was immediately happier because I finally was able to leave Waterloo, and a lot of my inspiration and creativity just immediately flowed back into me. But there was just this impending like cloud over me, because every single night I would worry about going back, and I just did not want to live through whatever it was that I went through. And I just dreaded even just anything that was remotely connected to Waterloo. I just had this like anxious pit in the bottom of my stomach, which is really hard to explain, but it was like my anxiety times like 10, and it was like crazy. I was like, this is getting out of hand. I don't really know how to deal with it. Just the mere thought of going back to Waterloo is enough to send me into this episode of like not being able to fall asleep, and just, it was terrible. It was really bad. So I struggled with this for like the first couple of weeks, and then I had this crazy thought about, you know, what if I just took a year off? Like, what if that could work? So the first people that I actually ended up telling about this was my friends, and of course they supported me wholeheartedly because they knew exactly how I was during last semester and how I really spiraled into something that I didn't even know I was capable of spiraling into. And it was crazy. Like, a second semester of uni was something that I never want to repeat ever again, because I experienced emotions that I didn't even know I was capable of experiencing, and not in a positive sense. It really shook me, and it scared me a little, because I was like, I didn't even know I was capable of experiencing things like this, and it really scared me for a little bit. Like, my entire life growing up, I've always just been the kind of person to just blindly follow what other people are doing, because I myself was just so unsure of what I wanted to do, and so I sort of just went along with whatever people told me, like my parents, my friends, and it's like the dumbest thing. No one should do that. And I think a part of me, like, even when I was applying to universities, I was just like, I don't really feel particularly interested in any of these. I knew deep down that this wasn't necessarily the pathway that I wanted to go down, but it felt like the right pathway because society was pointing me in that direction, my parents were pointing me in that direction, and all my friends were going in that direction. And so I was like, you know what, I'm a follower, so I'm gonna go this way, and this is what's expected of me, so this is what I'll do. And it didn't really hit me until the summer that, hey, I don't really necessarily have to follow what other people are doing, because I know deep down that this is not where I want to go. And this degree that I'm pursuing isn't necessarily taking me to where I want to go, even though I myself don't really have a clear vision of where I'm exactly going in the future per se. But I knew that this program that I'm in isn't pushing me in the right area, and it just felt very wrong to me in a sense. And so I told my friends about it, and they supported me, and that was great. And so for a while I was doing really well because I was focusing on other things that I've always wanted to focus on. So yeah, I talked to my parents, and they were really unhappy, and they did not support me whatsoever about taking a year off and really just trying to figure myself out, because they just kept on telling me like, hey, listen, you've got 2 more years, you can just push through it, just get that degree, and that's that. And even I was like to myself, like, hey, you only got 2 more years, you can push through it. But even just the mere thought of it was enough to send me into this downward spiral that I was like, okay, if I'm actually physically there, I honestly don't know what will happen to me. And for once in my life, I never really realized how important it was that my mental health was taking such an extreme toll, that it has affected me that much. And I don't know if you guys could tell, but sometime around second year, like last semester before summer vacation, the kind of videos that I was posting, like, you guys wouldn't even be able to tell like how I was really feeling deep down, because a lot of it I didn't really tell you guys, and I didn't really feel like it was necessary. But I was dealing with a lot of stuff, and it was difficult for me. It was really difficult, and I don't really want to go into depth about it because I don't really feel like it's absolutely necessary, but it really did change me in a way that has kind of led me onto another path that I didn't even know was open. And it's scary because never once in my life have I ever decided to diverge from the normal traditional path of just taking time and just really breathing and just allowing myself to explore other possibilities in life, because I was always just so hard set on just going where everyone else was. And that sort of took away a lot of things from me, because I was always such a follower that I never once considered creating my own path and just seeing what life had to offer outside of school. Yeah, so it wasn't until a couple weeks later, after many conversations and just many tears, to be honest. Like if you were talking to me 2 months ago about just my future and just school and how I felt about everything, I would cry. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, every single time this would be brought up, I would like cry. I wouldn't be able to get through this level-headedly because it just made me so emotional, and I didn't even really understand why it made me emotional. I would just get really upset over it, and I just felt like there was a lot of pressure because, you know, my parents wanted me to do one thing, but then I didn't want to do it myself, and I felt like I was letting a lot of people down, and I felt like I was letting you guys down in a sense, and I wasn't really sure how I would break this news to you guys because I know a lot of you really view me as this person that's like heavily invested in school, and you see me almost as like a role model, and that's just how my channel was sort of built in a way. And every single possibility, every thought has already gone through my head about where I'm gonna head. After talking to my parents for a bit and all that, they finally sort of saw where I was coming from, and they allowed for me to kind of take this time to figure out where I want to go. Because right now I think I'm sort of diverging into this pathway where I want to explore who I am creative wise, and I kind of just want to take a break academically because I felt like everything in my life has just been so fast, and that I'm extremely lucky to have this privilege where I can really just figure out what I want to do and focus my real passions and creativity in something that I'm actually in love with, because school and just all the courses and everything that I was doing, I never really cared for them, and that's one of the big things that I want to, you know, really feel in life. I want to care for what I'm doing. I want to feel motivated and inspired all the time, and school was just sucking the life out of me, both mentally, physically, like every aspect. The biggest thing that I want to do is just focus on my YouTube channel. I want to focus on a lot of other things that I wasn't really able to wholeheartedly focus on because of school. And I feel like for some people, school is definitely a stepping stone in where you want to go. But for me, I felt like school was leading me in another direction that I particularly didn't want to go. And it's different for everyone. And I feel like some of you guys may not understand because education can be seen as something very, very important. And yes, education is important, but I think it also depends on where you're trying to go. It really took me a long time, and I really just, my whole mindset about a lot of things has really changed these past couple of months. In conclusion, I just want to let you know that I am taking a year off. It's been confirmed 100%, so you won't be seeing uni vlogs anytime soon. However, I will still be posting a lot of other content, and just because I'm not in school doesn't mean that I won't post school related videos sometimes, because I do want to you know, go back to Waterloo every once in a while to visit my friends and stuff. And I just want to see what this new chapter of my life will take me, you know, and I'm honestly really excited because I think this is the first time in my life where I'm really making my own path, and I don't know where I'm going. And no one's handing me anything, and I really just have to figure it out on my own, and this is both exciting and new to me, and I'm really excited because I feel like this is going to teach me a lot of things that school won't be able to teach me, and I feel like some people won't understand. But that's okay, because at the end of the day, I understand myself better than anyone else, and some of you may not agree with this particular life choice that I'm making at the moment, but all I have to say is that I'm very happy with the choices and decisions that I've come to, and it's taken me a lot to figure out where I want to go. And this is going to be a never-ending process, but I'm excited to see where it takes me. And, you know, hopefully I have your guys' support, and hopefully you understand where I'm coming from. And if not, that is okay too, because, you know, people see things differently, and that is fine. But that's all I want to really say, you know. So I think Hopefully this explains a lot of things, and hopefully the amount of comments that I get that ask me about like uni and just, you know, where are my uni vlogs, where are a lot of my school videos, are you going to be making any? Hopefully that will answer some of them, and hopefully you'll understand why I've just been sort of silent on those questions and things like that. So yeah, hopefully you guys will support me on this new chapter, and I'm really excited to see where things take me. Maybe it will go in a positive direction, maybe it will go in a negative direction. You don't know. Life is just funny like that. But yeah, I don't really know. I'm sorry if this video was really messy. I honestly did not have a script to follow, and I really just kind of wanted to say what was on my mind. And yeah, so that's basically it. Thank you so much for watching this video. Hopefully you guys understand, and as always, I will see you in my next one. Bye.